Welcome to the shop. I'm Jared, and this is Wrench Every Day. And behind me is that movie car that I unveiled to you guys in the last episode, my 2008 Dodge Charger SXT that was featured as an extra car, one of, like 30, in that acclaimed movie everyone has seen, Need for Speed. Maybe half of you have seen it, generously. But at any rate, this is mine. I saw a movie car, I saw a great story, and I saw this poor thing rotting away in the back of a warehouse, and I wanted to save it. And as we went around and kind of toured its movie carness and its twice salvaged history, we ended the episode with me kind of making a discovery I did not expect. And it explains some of what's going on in the interior with fuses and wires pulled everywhere, and makes it a little bit more special. If being a movie car wasn't special enough, this adds a little bit extra. And speaking of adding a little bit extra, today's sponsor has something extra for you. You know how important it is to choose the right fuel for your engine's maximum performance, and today's sponsor, Athletic Greens, has the right fuel for your body's maximum performance. AG1 by Athletic Greens is a daily supplement that has incredibly simplified my daily health routine. It has 75 different ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. When you're on the road and having to travel as much as I am, it is really difficult to maintain a regular, healthy diet that's fulfilling all of your body's needs. When you're not able to fuel your body with what you need, your energy levels drop, and I find myself relying on coffee a tremendous amount. AG1 has the right formulation of minerals and fatty acids to help you keep your energy levels up all day. Another important part of my body that I need to keep working as good as it can is my brain. I need to be quick-witted, and I'm not funny, but I try to be, especially whenever I'm around Tavarish. AG1's vitamins and minerals are great for a well-functioning nervous system and a strong immune system. My favorite feature of AG1 is how convenient it is to add into your daily life. If you travel a lot, you have convenient pre-measured packets. At home, one simple scoop out of your container, 8 ounces of water, and that is all it takes to add into your morning routine. Let me show you how easy it is to use. I lied. I have 2 favorite features about Athletic Greens. Normally these supplements have a terrible taste. This tastes great. Now, if you're ready to get your greens, head on over to athleticgreens.com/wrencheveryday to get started on your order. Athletic Greens is going to also give my community a free 1-year supply of vitamin D, as well as 5 travel packets on your first purchase. This is a game changer for supporting your immune system. AG1 provides your body with everything it needs for optimal performance every single day. Head on over athleticgreens.com/wrencheveryday, get your purchase today, and join me on the path to better health. All right, so let's go ahead and get this hood opened up so you can find what I found, and don't mind the transmission fluid that's now all over the car too. I was putting together my quick jacks, and while putting the jacks together, I missed a step and kind of covered myself and the cars and everything in transmission fluid. But that's fine, because we're going to clean it later. I'm also trying to figure out where the heck all these blasted flies are coming from. They're everywhere, and they're obnoxious, because there's not food in here. But anyway, you guys don't care about that. Let's see if I can... Okay. Holy cow. I like how that dropped through. But, yeah, that is not a 3.5 liter V6. This would be the 5.7 liter V8 Hemi that someone started swapping into the V6. Something, golly, these flies. Something that I was not quite expecting to find in this engine bay. That started to explain why we have fuses, relays, key modules, and everything loose everywhere. They've been working through the process of handshaking all of these modules, I'm guessing, to work with each other. So, yeah, I'm a little bit scared because there is a lot of computer-ness that has to happen to make this happy, but I'm also really excited because I was expecting, kind of a wimpy V6 that, it's a cool car, but it's a V6, but now we got a V8. So one thing we're still going to need to try to do is go through this thing pretty in depth and try to find out the damage from accident 1, accident 2, and the movie. And one thing that stands out to me is, yeah, we've got wires just floating around. Now, some of these, like this is a hood courtesy light. I believe it's just a little switch that's supposed to kick that on. So when you open the hood, you get light. And that should go, I don't know, there. That looks like a crash sensor, which, you know, you want that flopping around. Those are probably horns, ambient air temperature, and then I don't know what this is. I wonder if maybe this is outfitter, since a lot of these are cop cars. I don't know if the non-cop cars would have this, or if this is just, if this could be the auxiliary wiring for a, you know, front horns and stuff. We'll have to look into that. So we got to figure that out. Again, more relays and things just kind of loose and around. That's going to be fun to try to figure out and work through. Now, when someone's doing a swap this in depth, it would be nice to have another car, you know, to get the missing parts from, and I don't have that. And I'd like to try to accomplish this without buying another car. So we are going to go ahead and, I think our first step, plug in a scan tool and just see what all the computers are seeing and saying and trying to do. So we've got some power. Right now, the car is telling us the trunk is open and a door's open. So that's right. Now, I'm going to guess this key, because it does not have the spade on it. There's another module in here somewhere. And, you know, that's exactly how you want your key cylinders. Your skums, I can't remember what Dodge calls it. The scum module? Sure. Okay, recognized a key. Ha! 44,000 miles, you know, cherry example. So that's a problem. That when everything's lit up, that means the transmission is not communicating correctly. Things aren't happy. Obviously, airbag light. And the big worry, that light right there. What that light is, that is your security light. That means it is not happy. Something is wrong in the system, which, again, when you've got so many things swapped, you've got so many modules with VIN numbers written into them, that I'm sure we're going to find a problem in that. I don't know what computer, if it's still the V6 or V8 computer. So we are going to come on down here. There it is. And plug in. I've just got my little cheap scan tool because, you know, you could just buy cheaper online. Don't buy it from your tool truck. It's the same stuff anyway. All right. Our all module scan is completed. Before we look at any codes, we've got 8 systems that reported. 6 engine, 7 ABS codes, so we're up to 13. 12 airbags. That's 25. Okay, whatever the carbon compartment node, that was 0. 4 out of the radio, it's 29. We got 2 from the steering column, 31. The totally integrated power control module. That's a fun name. The TIPM, totally integrated. So that's 9 more. And then 5 more out of wireless. That 45 codes. At least it's not 50, right? That's a lot of codes. Okay, so looking at our engine codes. We have a high resistance O2 code. We have high oil temperature sensor code, oil pressure. So a lot of times that might just mean they're unplugged. The camshaft code being open. Again, these are all like potentially unplugged codes. Lost communication with TCM. Could be unplugged, could be damaged, and the gear shift not talking. So we're going to have to physically put eyes and start figuring something out. So we've got those. ABS. Okay, steering angle not initialized. Anytime you have power off, you need to go through a zeroing process. So we're okay there. Vehicle configuration mismatch. That's going to take some deep coding. My guess is the ABS computer is looking for a V6 computer to talk to, and it's got a V8 computer. So we'll need to look at that. And that is what I started to suspect. The VIN number mismatch. So with modern computers, you have to write the VIN into the engine code, and the fact that the car is reporting as a 2009 on the engine code when it's a 2008 is, I think we just need to get into that software and rewrite it as the 2008, the correct one. Open circuit, again, might just be unplugged. We don't need to go through all of these. My guess is the airbag. We know we've got blown airbag codes. A lot of these are probably kind of redundant. So we need to get the car up into the air, and let's start taking a look at all of these sensors, see what's unplugged, see what transmission, see if the transmission matches the engine, and start coming up with that game plan. So let me slide my quick jacks under, get this thing off the ground, and let's look underneath. Okay, so we got the car up in the air. I've taken a quick peek ahead of time and have done a little bit of digging around while we were waiting for the camera to charge. So in the engine bay, I've got the air cleaner off and have kind of gone over those wires a little bit more and pulled back the wiper cowl to just see some of the things that may still be unplugged and what we need to figure out where they go and live. Like, you know, this connector here, it was cut because this is supposed to go there and twisted together. That would be our brake pressure and level. You know, there's just lots of little things to still sort out. One thing I did notice, where did that cable go? Right here. They cut our shifter cable for some reason. The shifter that goes inside down to the transmission, that cable's cut. So we're going to have to replace that. We had a emissions hose just shoved back there. We're going to have to figure that one out. You know, we got all kinds of stuff to learn and figure as we go along. I've got the ECU pulled up. One thing I noticed was this connector here, I could just kind of gently pull on that and unplug it. So I've got it properly locked in and cleared the codes for the engine, so we can do a quick recheck on that. We'll do that before going underneath, because the underneath revealed some stuff. Looking in here, I popped that up to confirm the cable and make sure it was plugged in because we were getting that gear shift and TCM communication error. Looking in here, we had just one connector unplugged, but I can't find a home for it. And then we were doing our looking on this side. And again, I don't know if this is normal. I haven't done a lot of chargers, but we have one of the body connectors. This is the floor to the dash, and then there's this other bulkhead right underneath it, and I cannot find a plug for it anywhere. So it may be as simple as I'm missing something. So I've got to get a diagram opened up. This here is the TCM computer. It lives inside the car, and based on that part number, this is for the V6. It's plugged in, and these wires appear to go out and do what they're supposed to, and you know, I might have to check it. It's possible that this power and ground isn't working, and that's why it's not waking up. So we've got to look into that just a little bit more. But what I do want to do is, now that we got that connector fixed, do another system call and see. Come on. Things are so much harder one-handed. And please, there we go. What is nice is when I turn on, you do hear fuel pumps prime. Don't get anything there, but what's interesting is I do hear the starter relay click. And we are going to, there it is, enter, scan, all modules. And we'll pick you up in a minute. Okay, and we have finished our scan, and I only see number 2 next to the PCM. It is the shift module, and the TCM. So we fixed almost every engine code by fixing the one connector. So that's positive. Now we still have steering angle, the configuration mismatch, VIN mismatch, and our speed sensor problems. But I know the speed sensor problem. We'll show that when we get underneath. We still have a bunch of airbag codes, which we didn't change anything, but look at how much is improved. Gosh, these flies. I'm going to just go home and get a fly trap. This is driving me nuts. We still have to figure out multi-purpose module, and then we got more TCM gear communication. So once we figure out our problem with this, we get a few more steps forward, and might be getting close. That is that connector we just found, and this is just everything that we know is disconnected and not plugged in. So just by walking around and checking all our connectors, we found something. So let me power off. We'll go under the car and let me show you what I found under there. This car's full of surprises. I'm expecting a V6, get a V8. I'm expecting it to not be too bad, and well, let me show you. Some of the first things I noticed is we've got our power steering cooler return hose disconnected. Not that big of a deal, but it is that way. Let's scoot in. Our motor mounts, they're not mounted. They're just kind of hanging out, but that's okay. The astute among you will notice our sway bar's gone. So we're going to need a sway bar. The other thing of note for our brake lines, they are routed incorrectly, almost rubbing the tire. And then our ABS sensors, well, they're not. They've been cut off. So that is why we're getting front codes right away. And our subframe here is a little kinked up and crushed here. So at some point in this car's life, I'm guessing that whole suspension, probably a movie, where they wrecked some of these cars, that suspension sheared off, went back, and you can see a dent right there. This is kind of hard on my back, where the suspension crunched in there, and a tire most likely actually hit there. We've got our transmission in with no shift cable because, again, why not cut it? If we come back, we can see what is one of its previous structure damages. From what I can tell, this doesn't appear to have been done in the movie. What I think happened is it got crunched in that floor pan, and that is why it was first listed when it was sold as structural damage. So obviously you don't like big dents on the floor, but we can pull the seats and straighten and get that true and back to a more reasonable form. If we went all the way to the back, which I don't feel like scooting, the drive shaft is not connected to the rear end. The rubber bushing is just gone and all of its bolts, so we're going to need one of those. So otherwise, looking around under the car, it's not too bad. We have most everything connected, and man, I'll tell you what, I like these quick jacks. Yes, I'm still on my back, but the extra tall ones there, I've got enough room to move around, and it's kind of nice. So we've got more equipment coming. That's what we've got for now. So our first order of business is fly traps. I keep saying it, but gosh, they were annoying me. As soon as I got out of the car, 3 of them showed up on me. There's nothing else in the shop for them. So I have a friend that works with a local dealer that he's setting me up with the factory wiring diagrams for the 08 and 09, so I can do a little bit of hunting to see why we're losing our communication through the system. Once I get everything talking, then we can program the VIN. One thing I noticed on our TCM is there's no power going to it. And with no power going to the ECU, there is no way for it to work. So with that diagram, I'm going to start working back to find where that breakdown is. Once we get that working, hopefully it all wakes up. We'll let the car try to start, which once it starts, it should run 3 seconds and turn off until we get the immobilizer system figured out. So we've got progress. We know the causes of almost all of our trouble codes. We know we've got a crushed subframe, a crushed rear floor pan, a drive shaft not connected to the wheels. There's lots of little stuff. But this is Project Car. I'm really excited. We're going to keep plucking away, and our goal
is for this thing to come to life in the episode. And if I can get that part, we're going to go for a drive around the complex too, because why not? Well, I got that login information, looked at the diagram, and I just had to look at something. So as I was kind of figuring, that red wire should have been a power wire, and I was getting none of it from the car to this ECU. But what I then went ahead and did is I gave it power myself. That's running all the way over to the vehicle. And look, focus. We have a transmission control module now. We only have one engine trouble code and one TCM code. And what both of those codes are is they're not able to talk to the shift computer. So if I had to guess, whatever is not sending me power here is also not sending me power there, and keeping us from getting this to potentially work. Well, aside from it, not being connected to the wheels. But we could almost start it soon, once we check all the fluids and things like that. But we're getting closer. We know our problem. We're not getting power on that circuit, so now we can start working backwards. So if we now take a look, one transmission code, one PCM code, two ABS codes, which we know what those are. Those are the wheel sensors were cut. Easy fix. So we're up to only 4. Well, we still have 9 of those airbag codes, but we know what those are. We need pre-tensioners, we need to plug the seat in, we need airbags. That's not that big a deal. So that's 13. And then we have 4 powertrain control module codes. So we have 17 trouble codes. We went from 45 to 17, and that's adding a whole nother computer in. We're narrowing it down, and any project you're doing, no matter how daunting it starts off, take your time and just work through a process. When I went through technical training with Toyota, when you start looking at wiring diagrams and you see 500 wires on a piece of paper, it looks very intimidating. You're just looking at a giant bowl of spaghetti and you're not able to identify what you need to work with. So the first thing you want to do is look at the noodles you need. You don't need to work on 500 wires. You just need to look at what's related to your transmission computer. Okay, we went from 500 to 20 wires. Of those 20 wires, we need power. So now you're only down to 2 wires, power in, ground out. So just when you're looking at the whole scope of an electrical problem, they're daunting, they can be very nightmarish, but if you're very careful and just isolate the few things you need to work on, it gets really simple. Plugging a couple things in, knocked out, we're down to 1/3 of our trouble codes, and we know exactly why almost all of them are happening. And now we've isolated our gear shift and transmission computers to a power problem, and we can start working on that. You see this? I'm beginning to think the Charger's very questionable. We are hitting every roadblock. I was optimistic going home that we could come up with a simple solution for our Need for Speed movie car. For a 2008, it's alarming how much is discontinued and how hard some of these parts are going to be to find. But let me give you a quick recap on kind of everything, because we've been all over the place. We've gone a lot of the diagnostic where I just kind of jumped through and updated you because it was just chasing wires. But in the engine bay, we'll start in the very front. Our upper and lower core supports are damaged, and we're missing a lot of little hardware inside there. Headlights are damaged, or we need a power steering line. We need a thermostat, housing, and hose. Oh, what else? We need to write that VIN number correctly to the engine computer. We need to connect a bunch of stuff back there. That's just work. That's fine. Those aren't parts. That front subframe is completely wrecked and ruined. We don't have a sway bar. Our end links are cut. We have V6 brakes on it, despite them upgrading to the V8. Then we start, before we even look in the car, come around. The drive shaft's not connected. We need the Guibo and parts for it. There's a massive dent in this floor pan. So these are all things we can fix. It's not a big deal. But then we get into the interior. The problem with our transmission starts in this fuse box back here. The V8s use a different circuit, and from what I can tell, body harness, because that wiring does not exist on the front side. And that's not a problem. We can run a single power circuit. When we gave that transmission computer power, it turned on and we saw it and we were talking to it and we were down to just what they call the gear selection shift module thing. That's not the shifter. That sends a signal to another computer which translates it and sends it to everything. This car doesn't have it. It has none of the wiring provisions and starts getting borderline very difficult to put together. So, I don't know, maybe instead of the Need for Speed movie cop car, we just rename this Charger to Project Roadblock. You use cop cars to make roadblocks. And I wanted this thing to be quick and start fast, and so we can be driving it and keep moving projects on. And no, it just keeps throwing us roadblocks. I thought I was excited to find that V8 in there, and that bubble popped a little bit. Questionable decisions sometimes deliver unintended consequences, and yeah, Roadblock is doing a real good job of it. So what can we do but try to smile, keep happy, keep pushing forward, come up with a solution, because wallowing and being sad is not going to fix anything. So that's where we're at with the Charger. I've got to clean it up a little bit. We'll put it on the ground. I'll find some parts, and we're going to keep it going because I like the car. I like its story, and I think I understand why it's covered in inches of dust and has been sitting in the back of a warehouse. I bit on that little dangly worm of a cool story and getting yanked out of the water and into the boat. But that's okay. We're going to fix it. I appreciate you guys, as always, hanging out with me. We didn't get as much progress, but we learned a whole lot. And it wasn't a good lesson, but we learned it. So, as always, I'm Jared, reminding you to make questionable choices and always create the illusion of safety.